Let's take a minute and look at this problem. We'll start by eliminating y. So we'll use a plus c to do that. And we choose to eliminate y because we see that the coefficients in equations a and c are opposite. So we add equation a to equation c, and we're going to get equation d. 3x plus 2x is 5x, 5z plus 6z is 11z, 8 plus 8 is 16. We're going to eliminate y again. Now we have to involve equation b. So we're still going to use a, but now we're going to add that to 2 times b. And we choose to use a because the coefficient is positive in a and negative in b, so we don't have to multiply a negative. We need to multiply every coefficient of b by 2. When we add, we get 5x plus 11z equals negative 4. So let's add to e negative 11d. So we have 5x plus 11z equals negative 4 is e. Negative 5x minus 11z equals negative 16. And 0 equals negative 20, which is false. So the system resulted in a false equation which contains no variables. Therefore, the system is inconsistent and has no solutions. So the solution set is the set with nothing in it. We don't have any solutions to put in that set. Let's find the solution to the system. You may want to pause your computer and take a minute and look at the system. I'm going to choose to eliminate z because I have coefficients of 1 and negative 1 on z in equations a and b. So I'm going to add equations a and b together. And when I do, I get equation d, which is 5x plus 4y. And I copied wrong here. This should be negative 22 as the constant in equation b. So when I add, I get d. Now let's eliminate z again. So notice the pattern. If I eliminate z the first time, I want to eliminate z a second time. So I'm going to use 3 times equation a and equation c. I chose a because the z coefficient in a was already opposite to the z coefficient in c. So I only needed to multiply a by a positive. So notice those z terms cancel out. If I notice that if I divide equation e by 11, I'll get what I'm going to call equation f, x minus y equal 1. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to choose to eliminate y. I chose y since the coefficients in equations d and e had opposite signs on their y terms. So 5x plus 4y equals negative 22. 4x minus 4y equals 4 is equation f multiplied by 4. I get 9x equals negative 18, which means x is negative 2 when I add d plus 4f. So I want to use f and the fact that x is negative 2 to find y. So where I have an x, I'm going to replace that with a negative 2 in equation f. And I wind up with the fact that y is negative 3. So I have x and I also have y. So I'm going to go back to my original equations. And I'm going to use b and the fact that x is negative 2, y is negative 3 to find z. And I choose that because b has a z term whose coefficient is 1. So that's going to be the easiest equation for me to use. So wherever I see an x, I put negative 2. In place of y, I put negative 3. And this will allow me to find z. So notice negative 27 plus z is negative 22. If I add 27, to both sides of the equation, I get z equals 5. So I have all three variable values. My solution set is the set with the ordered triple, -2, -3, 5. Let's look at 7, an application problem. So take a minute and read this carefully. And one of the things you want to focus on first, I'm asking you to tell me what each variable represents. It's what you're being asked to find. So notice you're being asked to find the price of each meal. So we're going to let V equal the price of a vegetarian pasta meal. L is the price of a lasagna meal. F is the price of a baked fish meal. So notice you want to be very specific on what the variables represent. If you just say V equals vegetarian, that's not clear enough. The fact that it's the price of the vegetarian meal is significant and important. So notice the sentence the part of the sentence that I've highlighted. That is going to give me equation A. 7V, 7 vegetarian pasta meals, 8 lasagna meals, 3 fish meals equals 4320. So when I multiply the number of meals times the unknown price, I get the amount of money that meal contributed to the day's total. Notice I've highlighted part of the second sentence, and from that highlight I get 9V plus 5L plus 7F equals 5185. So remember, the number of meals times the unknown price gives me the amount of money that I made from that meal for the day's total. All right, so I have all three equations. I'm choosing to eliminate F because I see F with a coefficient of 1 in equation C. Whenever you have a coefficient of 1, that's going to be an easy equation to work with for that letter. So I take A and add it to -3C, making sure that I've multiplied each term correctly by -3 in equation C. When I add, I get -11V minus L equals -19.80, and I'm going to call that D. I'm going to eliminate F again, and this time I'm going to use -7C and add that to B. So I just make sure every term of C is multiplied by -7 and that I copy B correctly. So easy to make a mistake. So I get equation E, whose coefficients are -33V minus 16L equals -95.15. And then I multiply every term of D by -16 so that my L's cancel out. So notice what I'm doing here is eliminating L. And again, I had a little sign error there that I had to correct. So I'm checking before I move forward. So 143V equals 221.65. I divide both sides by 143, and I get that V is 1.55. So I have one of the unknowns. Okay, now what I want to do is use D and the fact that V is 1.55 to find L. So wherever I see V in D, equation D, I replace it with 1.55. And here's the equation that I get. Multiply And I see that if I add 17.05 to both sides of the equation, I find out that L equals negative L equals negative 2.75. Multiplying both sides by negative 1 gives me L equals 2.75. So I go back to the original problem. And I need to find F. So I use equation C and the values that I found. And notice I replace V with 155, I replace L with 275, and this allows me to find F. Which is, when I add negative 17.55 to both sides of the equation, is $3.45. So when I go back to the original problem, I was told to determine the price of each meal. And the instructions indicated that I should answer with a complete sentence. So the price of the vegetarian pasta meal is $1.55. Of the lasagna meal is $2.75. And the price of the baked fish meal is $3.45.